Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix?
With the Wicks here on this beautiful Tuesday, April 5th, 2020. Like and hit the share. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe. It would be much, much appreciated. So yesterday we had a co-host with me, Y4 or John, whatever you guys would like to call him. Either's probably fine, okay? But we, dove into the world of the National Football League. Frank Gore announced his retirement after an illustrious career, a great career. A future Hall of Famer, has 16,000 rushing yards, or career rushing yards, has scored a touchdown in 3 different decades. The man is unbelievable at what he once did, basically, in the NFL with the 49ers. I believe he was with the Colts as well, and multiple other teams, the Jets and other teams alike. We talked about the contract details of Bobby Wagner. Then we talked about Devontae Parker getting traded from the Miami Dolphins to the New England Patriots. Well, today we have some stuff popping off. Some pretty interesting stuff, I would say. Tyrann Mathieu is on a visit to the Saints organization. What does that mean? And we'll dive into that in just a minute. The NFL also has been trying to grow the sport internationally. We talked about earlier in the year where they had the home market, or the international home markets, where certain teams could pick different countries and where they would be able to market their team, sell their stuff, and really try to bring the sport that we love so much to Europe and Asia and basically all around the world. Make this a global sport. That is what the NFL is trying to do, and they're making even more efforts as we speak to do so. We'll dive into that and what specifics has come for that. So Pete Carroll also has been in the news recently. Not only did he, have a presser and say, hey, we're going to, Colin Kaepernick deserves a chance in this league, but I don't know if that's here. But I think he does deserve a chance. Those are some interesting words coming out of his mouth. John didn't like it. I really don't know what to think of the situation other than, if Colin goes to the Seattle Seahawks, I think it might be a disaster, but who knows in the end. But Pete Carroll, during their meetings, during the owners' meetings, and I think it was the same meeting where it's like new head coaches come in, you take a photograph of all the 32 head coaches and stuff like that. You have your meetings, you sit down, you're with media and kind of going over what to expect for this upcoming season, with scheduling and all of that kind of goes into that. Well, during this meeting, Pete Carroll had some brutal words, some interesting words for the owners. He called out the owners. We'll dive into that as well. And the Colts actually signed a safety. So what does that mean for Tyrann Mathieu going forward? Are the Colts still out of the Tyrann Mathieu sweepstakes? I'll dive into that as well. So with that being said, are you ready to get your fix? So yesterday we kind of touched on it briefly where we said, hey, Tyrann Mathieu is visiting the New Orleans Saints. And this is, going to be a thing to come in the future as well, where Tyrann Mathieu is going to go kind of snoop around and see where he might want to potentially play this upcoming season. He was just released by the Kansas City Chiefs just a couple weeks ago. They ended up signing Justin Reed, a former Houston Texan, to fill that void. Now, Tyrann Mathieu is a very, very good safety in the National Football League. Once an Arizona Cardinal, he leaves that organization, goes to be a Kansas City Chiefs. I believe he won a Super Bowl with them. If I remember correctly, he might have. I think he might have been a year late for that Super Bowl. But he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, an organization that has been on the rise and are only continuously, who knows about this year, but getting better. They still have Patrick Mahomes on that team. It looks phenomenal. But now he's a free agent. And I believe this might be the first time in his career, or at least the second time in his career, where he has the opportunity to seek out where he wants to play, not where, other teams want to trade him to. He can choose his new home. And there's plenty of them. And the Saints are one of those teams. Obviously, with the Saints getting rid of Marcus Williams not too long ago, he was a free agent. They let him walk out of the building and said, we're not going to get you back here. He ends up a Baltimore Raven. So the Saints have a void at the safety position. They need to fill that. And if they were to bring in Tyrann Mathieu, I think that would boost that team's confidence. I think that would make that team that much better, especially when you have to compete with a Tom Brady in your division who said, hey, I'm retiring. 40 days later, he says, yeah, I'm coming back. Okay, we're going to keep this thing going. I'm not going to sit at home no longer. I cannot fucking fold laundry every single day, do the dishes every day, clean the house every day, would not go out there and compete, okay? I just can't do it. I got to go out there on the football field and show what I still got at the age of 44 or 45 or whatever it is, okay? He's an old dude out there, but he still has 7 rings. Damn near could have won 8 last year, but he ultimately failed to do so. He's chasing his 8th ring. So Tyrann Mathieu has an opportunity here. Now, this doesn't mean anything is imminent, right? He's just in the building to visit, see what the organization looks like, see what the culture looks like. He's basically looking at it as if, do I want to play here? Is this a place that I would like to be at? And I'd say probably. And the reason I say probably is because, well, he did play at LSU. I believe LSU is in New Orleans, okay? Louisiana State University, I think that's what it is, if I'm not mistaken. But it'd be a lot of familiarity with for Tyrann Mathieu down there. It'd be a big signing for the Saints, especially like I know to compete with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You really don't have to compete with the Atlanta Falcons because they ain't got no receivers. Okay, Calvin Ridley kind of screwed them over with having to put a $1,500 bet parlay down basically this offseason when he was not suspended, when he was dealing with a non-injury related illness, dealing with his mental health and stuff like that. So the Falcons don't have nothing. Okay, they got rid of Matt Ryan, they bring in Marcus Mariota. They still don't have a receiver. Their defense is okay, not the greatest. Like they can get stops here and there, but they're not going to continuously put the team or put the brakes on other teams. Basically, is how I'm trying to put that. But Tyrann Mathieu visiting the Saints, like I said, it doesn't mean anything other than, hey, do I want to play here? He's going to visit other places, I'd assume. The Colts would have been one of them, but after their recent signing of Armani Watts, don't know why that was so hard to say, Armani Watts, that's just probably ain't going to be a realistic destination. It still could happen. He's been linked to the Pittsburgh Steelers as well, and we know what that defense is all about, right? That steel curtain, that steel wall, they have a lot to look forward to. They just lose Big Ben to retirement. They bring in Mitchell Trubisky. They might potentially trade up in this draft to get a quarterback, one of these young quarterbacks. There's a couple of them out there that look pretty solid. In my opinion, I think Malik Willis is a dog. I think he's going to come into the NFL. He won't have immediate success, but I think he's going to have some success in the National Football League. It might take him a couple of years to get there, but I would really look forward to watching Malik Willis ball out wherever that may be. Maybe they get Desmond Ridder. I think he's still a dude from the Cincinnati Bearcats. He's a tall, powerhouse type of guy. He's more of a pocket passer. Kind of reminds me of an Aaron Rodgers, where I'm going to throw the ball in the pocket, but if I have to run, I'm going to be able to do so, maybe like a Josh Allen and those people alike. So there's some dogs in this draft, I believe, at the quarterback position, even though the experts say it's not a quarterback-heavy draft. And by quarterback-heavy draft, it's like those 5-star, athletes or recruits from the college game, like a Trevor Lawrence, like a Mac Jones, like a Tua Tagovailoa, like a Jalen Hurts. They're just not those type of guys. But in the end, you really don't know because they haven't had a snap in the National Football League at all. So wherever Tyrann Mathieu decides to go, I hope it's fucking Minnesota because that would be awesome. We have $15 million in cap space. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. But at the same time, you have to have some money to be able to sign your draft picks. And we have the 12th overall draft pick. Who knows? What if we trade up and get Ahmad Sauce Gardner from the Cincinnati Bearcats? That would be awesome. I would love that to pair aside with Chandon Sullivan, who we got from the Green Bay Packers this season, and Patrick Peterson, who got signed a one-year contract to come back to the Minnesota Vikings, which was huge in my opinion, which right away kind of gave me the inclination that, hey, we need a veteran to kind of show the ropes to a rookie that we're about to bring in, whether that's Ahmad Sauce Gardner, whether that's Derek Stingley Jr. or other defensive backs in this year's draft. Kyle Hamilton's probably going to go top 5 if I had to guess, which, I mean, he's a dog. I think his 40, I don't think he ran the 40, or he might have ran the 40 at the scouting combine. It was like a 4.5, 4.45, something like that. At the scouting combine, runs another 40 at his pro day, which why would you do that? You don't need to prove anything else. Runs a 4.7 or something like that. It was timed out to be. So that could have dropped his draft stock, but I doubt that's going to be the case. But hey, we need Tyrann Mathieu in the Minnesota Vikings organization. If we can figure out how to pay it, do it. But at the same time, I just don't think that can roll to make a playoff run. Jameis Winston is back on another contract, ready to make a playoff push, maybe even a Super Bowl push. He led the team to a 5-3 start before tearing his ACL there, I think, during the Halloween weekend. So, hey, good luck, Tyrann Mathieu. I hope he's having fun on these visits. New Orleans Saints, being that I think he's from around that area or he went to college in that area, I think we can look at that as a real possibility of him signing with the New Orleans Saints. And now I brought up the Colts signing Armani Watts. Okay, Armani Watts, who was formerly a Kansas City Chief, played there for 4 seasons. Only had 1 start in those games. But you have to think about it this way. Dude's 26 years old, hasn't hit the prime of his career yet, has really never had the opportunity to showcase his skills. He was behind, obviously, the Honey Badger, and the other guy off my top of my head, I can't remember, but there was some better safeties ahead of him, so he wasn't able to, or he wasn't given the opportunity to get on the field and showcase his skills and show what he has to give us, basically, as a viewer and as a fan. So 4 years in the National Football League, he's 26 years old. He still is in the prime of his career. If not, he's going to hit it here very, very shortly. But I think he shows some upsides. Okay, in his 4 years, 2 pass deflections, he's had 2 sacks, 58 total tackles, 42 of them were solo tackles, 16 of them were assisted tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits. So there's definitely promise there. There's upside there. You can work on that. You can get better, especially when you really haven't been given the chance, the opportunity to go out there and really show what you got to give. But I think that's a big signing by the Indianapolis Colts because they were looking for a safety, and I think they got a good one, a young one. And, I really hate to say it, but like a cheap one, right? Because he hasn't got to play. He really hasn't showcased his skills like I've been mentioning. So he's not going to be that expensive. He's not going to go against the cap that much. But I think they also made this signing knowing that he's not even at his prime of his career. He's just in the prime or just hitting the prime of his career because the Colts need a wide receiver. Yeah, they have Michael Pittman Jr., but they lost Zach Pascal. Okay? They also haven't retained T.Y. Hilton, which I doubt they will do unless they absolutely need to, basically, towards the end of this or towards the beginning of the season where they're like, oh, we kind of need a third stringer, another guy in here, a veteran guy that's going to really help boost us in the right direction. But they need receivers over there. They need a guy. Okay? They need a legit number 1 guy. They need a playmaker like a DK Metcalf. Like a, what's his name? Odell Beckham Jr. Like a Jarvis Landry. Like a Julio Jones. They need 1 piece, maybe 2 pieces at the wide receiver position to really boost their chances of potentially making the playoffs and potentially winning their division. But only time will tell if that's going to be the case. This is a huge signing, I think, out of Indianapolis because I feel like with this signing, they know exactly what they're doing and they know that they need a wide receiver. They need a weapon, plain and simple. They don't need a tight end. They don't need a running back. They don't need a quarterback. They need a wide receiver. Their defense is just fine. Okay, DeForest Buckner. What's his name? Darius Leonard, Kenny Moore, Xavier Rhodes. That defense is just fine. They need a weapon. to put them over that hump, and I think they'll go and find that here in the coming days, maybe in the coming weeks. So the Colts sign Armani Watts. I think I said Hooker earlier. Armani Watts, okay? Young safety, only been in the league 4 years, 26 years old. He's poised to have a great rest of his career. Hopefully that's the case with the Indianapolis Colts, so the Colts got another safety. So we all know that this offseason has been quite wild, okay? Really wild, to say the least. But nobody would have expected the amount of money that has been spent this offseason. So far, nearly $5 billion has been spent by NFL teams this offseason on their rosters, to boost their rosters, getting new players, new faces in new places. That's what we have been talking about for the last 2 weeks at this point, right? Bobby Wagner, now a Los Angeles Ram. Russell Wilson, a Denver Bronco. Devontae Adams, a Los Angeles Raiders. Khalil Mack, a Los Angeles Charger. J.C. Jackson, a Los Angeles Charger. That was weird to try to fucking breathe and fucking... Whew. But a lot of new faces in new places, right? $5 billion, nearly $5 billion, okay, have been spent by NFL teams. That is just ridiculous. When I seen that stat, I was like, holy shit, that's ridiculous. Like, I couldn't even fathom having that type of money. But hey, that's the NFL, baby, okay? They're only making more money each and every year, and this is the first time in NFL history that the cap space has been set over $200 million. Should have been last year, but COVID kind of fucking smacked it in the mouth and said, yeah, not going to happen, okay? You're going to stick under $200 million for this year, and then next year it's going to be $208 million, which that is our current year that we're in. But nearly $5 billion has been spent this offseason, and hopefully it all pans out for every single team that, brought new faces into a new place, to their new homes. And the NFL is going to look absolutely ridiculous this next year. It's absolute wildness right now in the National Football League. And it's only going to continue to get better because that is the sport we love. That is the sport we know, right? And the sport we know and love is also trying to grow the sport, trying to bring it to different avenues, different venues, and also internationally. They want to grow this sport internationally, so it's basically worldwide. We talked about the international home markets where teams can go out and market their teams in different areas, different countries around the world. Well, the NFL has big plans to grow the sport internationally. And they might start with potentially doing some flag football. The National Football League is pushing for flag football to be a part of the 2028 Summer Olympics. This is at My Sports Update. Ari Mirov on Twitter. He says the NFL has big plans to grow internationally and is pushing for flag football to be included in the 2028 Summer Olympics, which is in Los Angeles. It says if flag football becomes an Olympic sport, more countries will invest in playing that sport. And that was the NFL executive Damani Leach that told CNBC. And I completely agree with him. Because we don't have that many international players in the National Football League. And if we do have international players, most of the time they've had to leave their country, come over to the United States, and basically be thrown into things that they have no idea what it is. Okay, I think there was a guy on the Pat McAfee show who's from Germany just a while back. He said, once I got here, the culture, the food, the language, everything was complete. It was different. Like, I had no idea what I was doing at all. I mean, it was kind of nerve-wracking. But when I came over here, I started getting better and perfecting my craft. And he's like, I really didn't know anything before I came over here. And I learned the sport. And I figured, oh, okay, this is their soccer. This is our soccer compared to what it is overseas. Hopefully I understood that. But I think this would be a really good opportunity to grow the game, grow the sport. Because flag football, yeah, it's you're not tackling, you're not doing any of that, and it's maybe not as electrifying, but it can be. Shorter fields, okay? More agility is involved. More athleticism, I feel like, might be involved as well, potentially, because when you have pads on, you feel invincible. You say, I'm gonna hit you. But in flag football, you're gonna be like, you can't touch my flag, so I gotta be more elusive and be quick on my feet, do a bunch of spin moves, and we're gonna kind of move the ball down the field at chunks. And I think if we have this be an Olympic sport, we can really see, even though I think the United States might have an advantage, but at the same time, you really never know, because there's athletes all over the world, every single country, and the sport that we know and love, football, okay, American football, I think it only helps the fans as well as the NFL out, because we never want this sport to go away. We never want the National Football League to subside, and it never will. It might take some time. It might take, many, many years, but I think to grow it internationally, to bring the flag football into the Summer Olympics would be a huge upside, not only for the National Football League, but for fans, and I think for other countries to kind of learn about our sport and learn how it's supposed to be played and learn just how tough and how agile and how athletic you need to be to play this sport. I think it's a big thing for the NFL, and hey, if they're going to grow it internationally, I think this is a good way to start by bringing flag football into the Olympics, because I think anybody can play flag football. Playing normal football might be a little tougher, but I think flag football is a very, very good start. So we could be seeing a bunch of 28, 30-year-old fucking flag football players out there, athletes out there, but I think we can also have, I think you have to be 15 to play to perform in the Olympics officially. So that will be, we can see some youngins in there as well. It'll be interesting. I'm pumped for it. I think they really need to do this because it's only going to grow the sport that much more. And finally, in some other news, Pete Carroll, he has called out the NFL owners. Pratt at ESPN has been reported as saying, hey, Pete Carroll called out NFL owners during the league's meetings last week, saying the hiring of minority candidates won't improve until owners accept that there are candidates out there different than themselves. Completely agree with it. Apparently, this rant went on for about 10 minutes. And no one challenged him. No one stood up and said, yeah, okay, sit down, Pete, and shut your mouth. Nobody said that. Nobody got up and challenged Pete Carroll for 10 minutes. I'm glad that he did this, in all honesty. Even though his NFL career might be coming to an end within the next 3 to 5 years, I think it was time for somebody to kind of smack the table, stand up and say, hey, enough of this bullshit, okay? We need more minority coaches in the National Football League. We need to give these people more opportunities, because just because, these old whites, they want, plain and simple, they want whites in the NFL compared to African Americans for some odd reason. And it's because they're stuck in an era of which, not the greatest era in the world. And they don't give a shit. They do not care. Whatever it takes to win, they would rather have it be, sad enough to say, white coaches. And that's a bummer, honestly, because I think if you look at it, there's multiple minority head coaches or coaches in general that have paved the way for others, right? We have women coaches now in the NFL. Mike Tomlin, okay, he's been the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach for, I believe, 14 or 15 seasons. He's won a Super Bowl. He's had an illustrious Hall of Fame type of career. Tom Flores just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, was a longtime Las Vegas Raider, or Oakland, which was once an Oakland Raiders head coach. He's in the National Hall of Fame. Okay, there's others as well. Todd Bowles just got an opportunity because Bruce Arians decided to step down. Change will be coming. Okay, but at the owner's discretion, and that's a bummer. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't have to be that way, but I'm glad someone stood up and said, enough is enough. Hey, Brian Flores paid $100,000 to lose every single game by, an old white owner. Kind of bullshit. Okay, because they think, obviously, they have the picture that, oh, no one's going to give a shit if you lose a game. Okay, sorry about it. Okay, but if you're white, people are going to care. That ain't the case. Get over it. It's a new time, a new era. Love everybody until proven otherwise. That's what I live by. Accept everybody for who they are. Have conversations. Sit down. Don't be afraid to say, okay, well, that's bullshit. Don't be afraid about anything. Just accept everybody for who they are, because at the end of the day, we're all just bones. Okay? We're all just skin and bones. We're the same damn thing. Just the pigment of our skin's a little different. Who gives a shit? Get over it. I'm glad Pete Carroll finally had the balls to say, hey, enough's enough. Okay? Let's move in a different direction. And I hope that's going to be the case moving forward. And I guarantee you it will, even though it might be a slower process than we all hoped it would be. But we definitely need more minority coaches. If that's a head coach, if it's an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special assistant, anything. We need more of that. We need more diversity to make the game better, okay? And to make the world better as well. So with that being said, that is all I have for you guys today as we look forward to the rest of the week. What's going to happen? We don't know. Still many free agents on the market. Stephon Gilmore, Tyrann Mathieu, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry. I mean, the list literally goes on and on. So we'll see new faces in new places. Will that be before the draft? We don't know. Maybe after the draft is a very real possibility. But until then, we will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time. Like always, except for yesterday because I was fucking frothing and now I'm sore as shit, which that sucks. But at the same time, hey, just putting in that work, throwing the disc. But hey, have a great rest of your day. Don't enjoy this weather. I mean, you can enjoy the weather if you really want to, but it's fucking raining. But stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your night. Watch some hockey, watch some basketball, whatever the case may be. Because, hey, football is right around the corner. And when it's football season, that's where we're going to be focusing all our eyes on. So have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow. And you just got your fix with the Wicks. Deuces. And peace out.